for the battered but proud people of the Empire State. From the financial and entertainment epicenter of New York City to the sleeping and empty small cities and towns of upstate, which once bustled with manufacturing, mining, and farming. We all know from inspiration, history, and nature, we deserve a return to the success and growth of generations past, a birthright being squandered by corruption in Albany, and the depredations of an insecure, scheming mountebank posing as governor, who loathes both us and himself. As liberty beckoned to enslaved peoples behind the Iron Curtain via American broadcasts after World War II, we now say, believe, rise, and join us. Welcome to Radio Free New York.
Hello, everybody. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister. Welcome to Radio Free New York. Those of you watching from the live stream can probably tell that the background here doesn't look like the WYSL studio, and that's because due to some car troubles today, I'm actually broadcasting from home. So thank you guys so much for joining me. I'm actually really excited to see some sunshine peeking through the clouds here. It's about 60 degrees outside, and this weekend actually was really great. We had some great weather. And as I told you, I had a chance to sit down with about 12 local candidates who are running for office and seeking the libertarian line. So that was good too, kind of hearing their ideas as to how they can make government better, how government can be smaller, how they can protect the rights of the individual. So all in all, a very good weekend. And I see people are starting to bump into the live stream now. So Dan and Michelle and Evans, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Well, I'll let you guys know, although I'm at home, I can still take phone calls. So if you guys have questions or comments and you want to dial into the studio, that phone number is 585-346-3000. Once again, that's 585-346-3000. And if you're outside the local area but you want to call in with a comment or question, that's 866-552-1009. Once again, that's 866-552-1009. Now, as you guys probably guessed from the title, if you're watching the live stream, those who are listening on the radio, I guess maybe I never explained this to you guys. When you guys hear me talk about the title, when I stream the show online, I usually give it a title that has something to do with the topics that we're going to talk about in the show. And so today's title is Immigration and Unconstitutional Bans. And so, as you might guess from that, we're going to talk about some of the immigration issues that have been coming up over this last week. And also, we're going to talk about some more things that have been struck down, bans in New York State that the Supreme Court has said, that's unconstitutional. You can't do that. So we'll talk about some wins for us here in the Liberty Movement if we get through all of the immigration stuff. So, without any further ado, I'm just going to jump right in and talk about some stuff in New York State first that has to do with immigration. And then we're going to talk a little bit broader scale about U.S. and Mexico relations, especially because people are getting really fired up about this. People are getting really angry, fired up, and upset. And I want to address a few things that I've noticed that I think are worth talking about and having a discussion about. So first thing I want to talk about, I think I brought this up briefly a few weeks ago, but we didn't truly talk about it. And that is this idea that Cuomo has announced new expanded services here in New York State for immigrants. And it's not necessarily legal or illegal immigrants. It's just generally immigrants. And I'm sure some of you are going to see where there could be some problems with this. So this project to me is really interesting because the name that Cuomo gave this is the Liberty Defense Project. So Cuomo has now created his own Liberty Defense Project, which means things very different to him than it means to me. And he says the first of its kind in the nation. He actually proposed it last December, and So it's not a new idea, but the fact that it's being implemented now is what's going on. So the first piece is there's actually a rapid response program which creates these regional providers and attorneys ready to take action in the event that ICE takes action. So here we are, we're saying that when the federal government does something, New York State is now going to spend budget dollars, tax dollars, to essentially fight the federal government. We might touch on this a little bit later because it's interesting, the idea that you would use state tax money to fight the federal government. I don't believe that's unconstitutional. In fact, that was probably one of the original intents of having the states separated from the federal government, is that when the federal government overreaches its bounds, the states could then retaliate. I think most people who listen to the show, though, are going to think that the state fighting the federal government on something like immigration is probably not appropriate. So we might get to explore that a little bit more, especially when we talk about the federal immigration stuff later in the show. What should be done, what shouldn't be done, and you guys, of course, are always welcome to call into the show or comment on social media as we go through this. But that's the first thing. So the first thing of this Liberty Defense Project from Governor Cuomo is the idea that when ICE comes into New York State, we'll have attorneys ready to go to battle ICE to keep them out of our state, which is not how I want my tax dollars spent, personally. The second piece of this program, or this project, or whatever you want to call it, is that there's 21 new, what they're calling opportunity centers, that have been selected by the Office for New Americans. I think that's another Cuomo project there, which is going to offer new free services to immigrants. Once again, there doesn't seem to be any differentiation here, and if somebody knows better about this is just the information I could find. If you could clarify if you think that this is specific for legal immigrants or illegal immigrants, I couldn't find any specification. So as far as I'm concerned, as I read this program is available to anyone who is not a U.S. citizen if they are in New York State. That's how I'm reading this. Could be wrong. Somebody's welcome to call in and let me know if that's not the case. So what are these opportunity centers, is what they're calling them? What are they going to do? Well, according to 13 WHAM, these centers will provide immigrants with essential services such as education, legal guidance, naturalization assistance, and guidance within their neighborhoods, including the Southern Tier for the first time. Now, I did some research. At first read, the way this is presented, it sounds like free college education, maybe, or something like that. That doesn't actually appear to be what they're doing. But I know that was, like, to me, that was a giant red flag. I'm like, wait, free services like education? Does this mean free college? Because I know that A, that's extremely expensive. B, people who are citizens of the United States aren't getting that. So at first read, I was like, whoa, what's going on here? Is it, like, what is this? Especially when we've got like a $2 to $3 billion deficit in this state. And actually, Michelle just sent in a great question. Michelle on Facebook says, are any other states doing this free help, or are we it? That's actually a really, really good question. I don't know if other states are doing this. If other states were doing this, my suspicion would be it would probably be California. I don't know of any other states. If somebody wants to do a real quick Google search while I'm here on the show and post in the comments if there's any other states doing this, my suspicion is that the New York State budget, as you guys know, is the largest budget in the nation now. I think our budget may be larger than California's. I'm not 100% on that. I think it's pretty close. I think ours may be larger. Our elected officials are absolutely the highest paid in the nation now. If you look at a state like Florida, and I look at Florida because a lot of New Yorkers leave to go to Florida, And they actually have more people than us, but they have less than half our budget. So if I were to look at a state like Florida and say, do they offer a similar program to this? My guess is no. And my guess is the reason for that is the New York State budget is so huge. We pay for everything. We buy everything. We line everybody's pockets. And by everybody's, I don't mean you and me as the normal citizens. I mean big corporate donors to political campaigns. Their pockets gets lined. So I don't know if other states are doing it, but the other states that would have the budget to do it, I would guess would be like states that have high budgets like we do. So California comes to mind. California and New York have similar policies to each other. Don't know if anybody else does that or not. But let me really quickly list off for you the 21 centers and where they're going. So New York City and the Bronx. Also, there's going to be one in Brooklyn, Manhattan. Looks like another one in Brooklyn, another one in Manhattan, one in Queens, another in Queens. So three in Queens, one in Nassau County, one in Suffolk County, Dutchess County and Orange County, Westchester County, looks like 2 of them, Albany County. Then we've got North Country, but doesn't say what county. Oneida County, Onondaga County, looks like Monroe County. So here in my home county here, Monroe County. Looks like Erie County, Tompkins and Tioga counties, and Broome County. So that's where those 21 opportunity centers are going. We are at the quarter of an hour, so we're going to take a real quick break here. When we come back, I'm going to break down just a little bit more about what these centers are doing, and then we're going to start rolling into some federal immigration. So we'll be back here in a moment on Radio Free New York.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
I am going to take you down.
Not unless I level up first. Hi, honey. You're on speaker.
Honey, there's no hot water. Again.
Call Taylor at 500-HELP.
Tony says call Taylor. 500-HELP.
Taylor's who we call for heating and cooling help. We need a plumber.
Taylor can help with that, too. Heating, cooling, plumbing. Call 500-HELP.
Tony, I don't know what I'd do without you.
Thanks for getting me into hot water, pal.
Hey, what are friends for?
Call Taylor. 500-HELP.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at SimpleTech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, SimpleTech Innovation should be your first call. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
You're listening to Radio Free New York
on the WYSL stations.
All right, guys, welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister, and I am broadcasting today from home. Having a little bit of car issues here, so just broadcasting from home to reduce that driving time there. And I want to welcome a bunch of you guys to the show. Looks like Dan has joined us, Carrie, Jonathan, Rod, Steve, Mike, and Chris, just to name a few. There's more people coming into the stream as we speak. And Chris actually sent a message over the break, or a comment here, and he says, "Hey, Andrew just joined. You mentioned free. Right there raises suspicion. What are we talking about?" So, Chris, what we're talking about is Cuomo has opened up 21 new opportunity centers in New York State, which purpose is to provide free legal consultations and advice, education, naturalization assistance, along with a number of community workshops. And so that's kind of where we left off from the last segment of the show, is talking about where these are located. Now I want to talk a little bit about what they do, right? So I kind of alluded to that. The idea is that these centers are created to give legal advice to immigrants as to how to get citizenship. And one of the things that they said was free education. And I had to look into that a little bit, because free education sounds a lot like maybe college prep, maybe higher education, maybe college. I wasn't sure what that was. The news article was rather vague. So it looks like the education that they're providing is different than what I thought. So some of the topics they said they cover is parent engagement in schools, financial literacy, disaster preparedness, consumer protection, and educational opportunities for them and their children. Then things like citizen preparation classes, so basically how to pass your citizenship test, and then workshops on immigration law and federal immigration policy. So I say all that to say, I'm personally not upset that we're helping immigrants. My wife's actually an immigrant. She came here from Czech Republic. She last year got her citizenship. I have no issue with immigrants. I love immigrants. What I am very concerned about, specific to these programs, is that we're already running a $2 to $3 billion deficit. And some of the things that they're talking about, including in this education and this workshop for immigrants, I really think should be included in just regular education for our public. We're talking about things like financial literacy, disaster preparedness, consumer protection. That sort of stuff to me feels like, why aren't we educating our typical population on this sort of stuff? Because we're not, and it clearly shows. So my first take is, it's a wonderful thing that we want to help immigrants. I'm not sure if this program is geared towards legal or illegal immigrants. There seems to be no reference to any of that whatsoever. But helping people isn't a bad thing. It becomes a problem when we start spending budget money that we don't have. And with anything in life, anything that government does, I always want to ask this question, the question of, should government be providing this service, or should the community be providing this service? Should the local churches, should the local businesses, the local community groups, should they be the ones providing these services? And I think by and large, the answer is yes. These type of services, I think, if there's attorneys that want to help teach immigrants about federal immigration policy and federal immigration law, I think that's a wonderful thing. I think that should be a pro bono thing that they do within their community, and they host the workshops locally in conjunction with other businesses or charitable organizations that this is important to them. I don't think government should be paying for this. I don't. That's going to be something that falls in line with a lot of things, I believe, though. It's not just this specific thing. There's a lot of things that government pays for, a lot of things that government is involved in that I just quite frankly don't believe is government's role. Government's role is to be small, it's to protect the rights of the individual, and that's about it. That's really about it. Some people will ask the question, well, what about the roads and that sort of thing, and what about right of way and all of this other stuff. Government, I think, has a small place in it, but I think that what we have today is government has such a stronghold on it. We as the people don't get to choose who builds the roads. We don't get to view and deal with the bidding. We don't get to vote on that piece of the budget. In some areas you might, but by and large what happens is the elected officials get to pick and choose that stuff. It's not for the betterment of the general population. Sometimes it can be, but a lot of times corruption gets involved and bribes and things like that. And if you think that this isn't true, you should just Google corruption in Albany or corruption in New York State or elected officials being indicted and going to jail and being under investigation in New York State. And you will see a very, very lengthy, long list of elected officials who have been accepting bribes, engaging in crony capitalism, not spending our money wisely, expanding government, and to the benefit of their corporate friends. So government needs to be small. This is something that I see could be a positive thing. But I think it's really only going to be a positive thing if the community takes on the project and the community does it through volunteerism and charity instead of government including it in their budget. So those are just my thoughts on this. I know that immigration right now has been a really, really hot button topic for a lot of people. And one of the things I'm seeing with immigration today is that people are maybe stepping outside of their principles and their ideals and their values because they're so upset about immigration. And what I mean by that is people are starting to make decisions that they wouldn't normally make just over either fear or anger when it comes to immigration. And it goes both ways. This is definitely an issue on the right and an issue on the left. You have people on the right saying we need to shut everything down and just totally seal off the borders, nobody in or out, just close it. We need to punish other countries, like that sort of thing. Then you've got people on the left that are like, we need to take everybody should have a home here, just give them all the free things. And it seems that nobody's really truly proposing an in-between. And I really think this is starting to be one of the largest divides in our nation right now. And I say that because there were other things that used to be a much hotter topic, if you will, a much more argumentative topic. So you've got things like Second Amendment rights. That topic, it's never going away, by the way. The Second Amendment topic will never go away. But it's almost taken a back seat to this immigration issue. And even things like abortion. Abortion was a very hot topic where people are fighting about. And I'm not saying they don't. In fact, I know it came up a bit during the show before mine, the 12 o'clock show. So I'm not saying it's not. But what I am saying is, as far as what's dominating the media today, what's dominating conversations, what's dominating arguments is immigration. And what immigration should or shouldn't be allowed, what's too far, what's not far enough, what's safe and secure. You hear some people talk about open borders. You hear some people talk about closing the borders. And it's a very polarized argument. And I'm seeing, as time goes on, less and less people kind of taking a step back and trying to maybe come up with a common sense solution. I know that sounds extremely cliche, so I apologize for that. But to that point, I made a couple posts about immigration this week just to kind of gauge and see, where everybody's at with things. I saw some stuff in the media that I was really upset about. We're going to talk about that here in a moment. But when I posted about this, I was surprised at how quickly people wouldn't even read the post. People wouldn't even like take the time to analyze it. They immediately wanted to jump in and give, their thought that maybe this is a presidential issue. And if you don't support his every, policy, then you must be against the president. Or if you do agree, maybe you are. And, it started taking paths that had nothing to really do with immigration. Just because somebody does or doesn't have a proposal that you do or don't agree with doesn't mean that all of a sudden you're for somebody or against somebody. And what it turned into is the idea that people aren't listening, they're just kind of coming in with preconceived notions. So before we take a break here, because we're almost at that break time, I'm going to tell you what we're going to talk about in the next segment. And in the next segment, what we are going to talk about, we're going to talk about avocados. That's right, because that's actually what got people stirred up a little bit with this Mexican border thing, and I really want to hit that. So we're going to take a real quick break here on Radio Free New York, and when we come back, we are going to go ahead and talk about the avocados.
You're listening to the voice of liberty.
WYSL.
AM 1040 Avon Rochester, FM 92.1 Rochester, and FM 95.5 Spencerport.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Planning a party or event? Geneseo Hardware and Rental is Livingston County's most complete rental center. Geneseo Hardware and Rental offers tents, tables, chairs, dance floors, lighting, and more. From small parties to big events, they have it covered with tents up to 60 by 90 feet. Check out their selection of bounce houses. Great fun for kids of all ages. Open daily for all your party needs. Call Geneseo Hardware and Rental, 243-2510, on the web at geneseo-hardware.com.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at SimpleTech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, SimpleTech Innovation should be your first call. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Radio Free New York on WYSL.
AM 1040, FM 92.1, and FM 95.5 West.
All right, guys, welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister. We are talking about immigration. We started talking about the New York State Opportunity Centers that have opened up across the state, 21 new opportunity centers for immigrants to give them education, legal advice, a whole bunch of things that, to be honest, are probably needed and are probably very beneficial, but in my opinion, shouldn't be on the taxpayer's dime. That's just my personal choice. That's my personal thought. And actually, Chris on Facebook brought up a really good point, and that this is probably should be a local issue. And that's really what this should be. Maybe your county or your town decides that these opportunity centers are vital to your community, that they're important, and you want your local tax budget to be used towards that. You know what? I don't have a problem with that. If your county decides that this is valuable and you're willing for your taxpayer dollars to go to this, and it's a community-based decision, whether that's a referendum on the back of your ballot or something like that, and you have the choice to vote yes or no, I'm behind that. I'm okay with that if that's what's right for your community. What I don't believe is right is Albany deciding what's right for your community, what's right for your budget, what's right for your tax dollars. Locally, if you decide that's right for you, great. That's wonderful. Me personally, I would prefer it to be a local charitable organization, some attorneys working pro bono, some community activist groups rallying together, volunteering their time and their resources to make this happen if it's important to them. But if the community as a whole, and I'm talking about the local community, decides that they actually want to spend taxpayer dollars on it, good for them, as long as it's their choice as a community and not a mandate being pushed down from Albany across the entire state. I'm totally behind that. Along those lines, I've got a few other comments in here. Somebody saying immigration should be an economic issue tied to the economic health of the country, depending on how unemployment rates are, how many jobs are available, that sort of thing. And that's his opinion. And I'm kind of okay with that, but at the same time, people come into this country all the time. They're very wealthy from, say, India, and they come with wealth, and they don't live off the system here. In fact, they probably increase the positive parts of our economy because they maybe buy some products, they buy some real estate, they start paying taxes, their income's not even really tied here. Same thing with immigrants from China. They're very wealthy people come over from China. So there might be like an economical argument to be made there, but I don't know that we should be that restrictive. If we get far enough through the show, I'll actually tell you guys what I think could work. Not saying it's the only answer or even the right answer, but maybe a good middle ground answer for people as we look at immigration and the problems that we're having right now. So as I alluded to before we took the break here, this really all came about because of avocados. And I'm gonna throw up here on the screen for you guys this image I posted on Facebook throughout the week, which was a screenshot from Reason magazine, and it says, "If Trump closes the Mexican border, America will run out of avocados in 3 weeks." And then there's a picture here from a Marvel film, and it's Thanos, and I forget what the young girl's name is, but she says, "Did you achieve border security?" And he says, "Yes." And she says, "What did it cost?" And his response was, "Guacamole." Now, I posted this because it was funny, it was entertaining, but what it really did is it actually showed how controversial this topic really is, how upset people really get about this. Because people immediately took, even though I posted an explanation of how closing the border could have a negative impact on the United States, people just took it to mean that avocados were the reason we shouldn't close the border, which isn't the case at all. I mean, don't get me wrong. Avocados, they're all right. I enjoy them from time to time. I make a really, really good guacamole from scratch. I certainly love guacamole. But that is not my reason for saying that we shouldn't shut down the Mexican border. Now, I wanna clarify a few things, because along with all this immigration stuff, not only are there people who are greatly opposed to each other on different topics with immigration, but there's also some terms being used now kind of interchangeably, and they're not. So I'll give you an example. A few people thought that closing down the Mexican border between the United States and Mexico, closing down all immigration in and out, closing down all commerce in and out between Mexico and the United States, is the same thing as building a wall. And it's not. Those are very, very different things. They're different proposals. The idea of building a wall is that you would have a wall between Mexico and the United States. That doesn't necessarily mean that there would be closed borders. That doesn't mean that immigration wouldn't happen. That doesn't mean that commerce would happen. But when you talk about closing the border with no commerce in and out, with no immigration in or out, that's a totally different proposal than building a wall. And so I wanted to make that first clarification, because I could tell people were very confused, and then once it was explained, people then, they felt differently once they understood the differences between the two. So first thing I want to clarify, we're talking about the closing the border, not the wall. And we're talking about the initial proposal was to just shut down everything. Later, Trump came out and said, you know what, we'll do tariffs, we won't accept cars, this other stuff. That wasn't the initial proposal, though. That was kind of the like, oh yeah, we probably can't close down the border, that's not going to be good proposal, so what can we change this to? And I think that's really important to point that out, especially for people who are those super, super diehard Trump supporters that unless it comes from him, it might not be valid. It's important to point out that he actually decided that, yeah, you know what, maybe closing down the border is not the best interest for us as United States. The other thing I want to hit on real quick before I go into that is this whole idea that people think that shutting down the border would work. And that's actually where I came from. I don't think shutting down the U.S.-Mexican border is actually going to solve our immigration issue. And it's definitely not going to solve the illegal immigration issue. In fact, I think it would make it worse. And I know a lot of you are thinking, well, what do you mean? If we shut down the border, it won't be a problem. No, it's the exact opposite. United States. There's a legal way to cross the border. There's a legal process to do that. I'm not saying it's an easy process. I'm not saying it's illegal immigration. What you're going to end up seeing is the people who would have come here legally are now also going to seek an illegal way into the country. So now what you have is you're punishing the people who would have followed the law and maybe put them in a situation where they decide that they will also break the law. And if we've proven anything here over the last decade, it's that the United States government can't protect the border. They can't. People get in and out all the time. So this idea that just shutting down legal immigration and legal trade is going to stop illegal immigration is not going to be successful. It will increase the black market for illegal immigration. It's going to make it even harder to enforce, because now we've taken the black market, now we're pumping even more money into it. That's not a good thing. So I came out right from the beginning and said, listen, I don't think closing down the U.S.-Mexican border is the right way to go. I don't, because I think it just increases the black market, and Border Patrol can't keep that border secure. So now it's just more people coming into the country illegally. Now, some people later said, well, you know what? Trump never meant he was going to shut down the border. He was just saying that to scare Mexico into, bending to his will and helping cut down on the illegal immigration problem. I'm not saying that's true. I'm not saying that's false. That may very well have been his strategy and his tactic. That's a very New York City strategy. Trump's from New York City, so that's very possible. That doesn't make the policy right, though. So if you're arguing that shutting down the border is a good policy when really it's just a bluff, if you will, trying to force somebody into something, you could argue that's a strategy, but the policy itself of entirely shutting down the border, I think, is still a bad policy. So I wanted to get that out there for you guys. I really want you guys to kind of just think about it. You know, if we were to truly, and I know that's off the table today, so I understand that a lot has happened since this show in the last few days, but I want everybody to think for a moment and think, if we actually shut down the U.S.-Mexican border, would we get more illegal immigration? I think the answer is yes. Would we have the resources to protect the border today any different than we did beforehand? I think the answer is no. So those are the reasons I actually think shutting down the Mexican border is not a good policy, not a good plan. And I hope as you guys think about it, you could actually, comment in or call in and let me know if you can think of a better plan. What I'm going to do, we're going to take another short break here, and then I will share with you guys what I think the answer could be and how we could maybe solve this issue in a way that's beneficial for our country and in a way that would cut down on illegal immigration. So we'll talk about that when we come back from the break here on Radio Free New York.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovation should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
Eyes in Rochester is a full-service ophthalmology office, and we specialize in general ophthalmology, taking care of people from childhood to adult and seniors. We do general eye exams. We specialize in cataract surgery, corneal surgery, and disease, as well as LASIK surgery. We also have a full-service optical shop and contact lens fitting service.
Visit Eyes on Rochester at 1157 Fairport Road.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to Simple Tech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that Simple Tech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at Simple Tech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at Simple Tech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
You're listening to Radio Free New York
on the WYSL stations.
All right, guys, welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister. We are talking about immigration. We're talking about local issues, talking about national issues, talking about issues on the Mexican-American border. And I planned on talking about unconstitutional bans today. There's just no way we're going to get to it. So what we're going to do, we're going to plow through this immigration issue. I talked about why I really think a total shutdown of the Mexican border is a bad idea. And it has nothing to do with supporting one party or another. It has nothing to do with liking immigrants or disliking immigrants. It just has to do with what we've seen happen year after year in human nature, and how government has created black markets and expanded them, and what has been successful in eliminating black markets. So with that being said, I want to take a little bit of time to address the immigration issue, address a way that I believe could fix this issue, or at least make it better. And at least better would be steps in the right direction. And I know there's a lot of people out there who are way, way smarter than me who maybe come up with a significantly better solution. This is just the one I know of today that I think could help us out. So the idea here, and actually some people are already talking about it in the comments, which is great. That means you guys are paying attention. You guys know what's going on. So first thing I want to do is a couple comments did come through over the break. One of the comments, I'm going to sum up some of these because some of these are kind of lengthy. But, you know, Matt posts in here that he thinks shutting down the border is a bad policy, but he also thinks laying caravans of people through the border is a bad policy. So we'll address that here in a little bit. Chris's comment, this is one of the long ones, so I'm going to paraphrase a little bit, is basically when government makes things illegal, that you have the opportunity to create more societal division and fuels people fighting, and essentially makes it so that, you know, they can divide and conquer the people. And Chris, I would agree, this has been going on since I couldn't even tell you how long. But, you know, politics has turned into a game of division, and it's just whoever has the largest divided group wins. Instead of, you know, politics being about bringing people together. Our two major parties don't want to bring people together, because when the people are stronger than government, that's when government starts to lose power. Big government doesn't like that. So yeah, I agree. And then Michelle's comment alludes right into what I'm going to talk about, which is a policy put together by Larry Sharpe. Larry Sharpe ran for governor of New York State last year. And this policy came about, I believe, after the gubernatorial run. And I might not have it down 100%, but I'm going to kind of paraphrase it and share with you guys the parts of it that I think could be extremely beneficial and help resolve this issue. So the first thing is, I'll just go out there and say, I don't think a wall is going to solve our issue. I don't. Could a wall solve our issue? The answer is maybe. I guess if push came to shove, maybe a wall could solve a portion of the issue. But I think it will end up being way more expensive than government ever says it will be, because that's how every government project is. I think not only in construction, but also in maintenance. I think it might actually put us in a situation where we think, oh, we've got the wall, it must be safe now, and maybe we let our guard down and maybe we don't pay attention to things as much. So I think there's a number of issues with the wall. One of the biggest issues is, once you put up a wall, you know, you have a few issues there. One is, now you need to be extremely well funded to get through a wall and have a lot of resources. So what does that mean? Today, we have a bunch of illegal immigrants. Some of them are bad people, some of them are good people. And the good people come through only because they feel they have no choice, and it falls upon our border security's discretion, and they have to figure out, are these good people? Are they bad people? How does our policy allow for deportation? Does it allow for deportation? You know, all of this stuff. It's this big convoluted mess. It becomes hard to figure out who the bad people are. Well, guaranteed, if you build a wall, and this is something that somebody may say is a pro for building the wall, not a con, is now only the extremely well-funded will get through the wall. Only those with a high amount of resources. Terrorists, cartels, criminals, these will be the people getting through the wall, which, in my opinion, are the people we're trying to prevent from getting into the wall. So how do we figure this out? How do we stop this? How about two Ellis Islands on our southern border? Two Ellis Islands on the United States and Mexican border where people can come through for legal immigration, where they can come through and get health screened, where they can come through and have their criminal background checks gone through, where they can come through and have a path, a legal path, a feasible path into the United States. Now, this isn't to say everybody's just going to come in. This isn't that at all. What this is this is saying if you are a good person, a law-abiding person, a person who wants to be legal, we now create a path for you. We now create the ability for you to come to this country. But there's some restrictions here. And one of those is you have to be able to get a job. When you come into this country, you would not be allowed in any way, shape, or form to go on any public assistance. No welfare, none of that. You do that, well, guess what? These people came through legally. We know who they are. We know where they are. They check in with the government, whether that's every couple of months, maybe every 6 months, whatever that is. They're checking in, giving their status. And during check-in times, if you are on public assistance, you leave. You can't be here because you're not self-sustaining. Not only that, when they come here and they're working, they pay taxes. But they pay these taxes without the ability to go on these public services. So what does that mean? They're essentially coming here and paying us to let them work here. This could be a really good thing for us. Right now, what we have is we have communities in this country of people who are illegal. So when it comes time for the police to come in and find a bad person, whether it's from crime or something else, nobody will report on them. Nobody will say, oh yeah, so-and-so's here. The reason is they're all illegal. They don't want the police there at all. They don't want to cooperate. So it makes it harder for law enforcement. It makes crime an issue. And these people aren't paying taxes. So by creating a legal way into the system through two Ellis Islands, a way that you can come into this country, but you can't go on welfare, a way where you're paying taxes and legal, and you're checking in every so often, you do something like this, that black market goes away. Now that black market is only evil, bad people. That makes things way easier on Border Patrol. Because when Border Patrol finds somebody trying to cross our border, guess what? They know that person had the opportunity just to go to one of the Ellis Islands. That's a bad person looking to do harm in our country. Makes it way easier. Not only that, farmers get the labor they need, but it's legal labor. So farmers now have a way to get employees without having to participate in illegal immigration themselves to keep their farms alive. And we're bringing these people in. They're not going to be a drain on our system. They're going to actually feed into it. So that's what I think. I think that if we follow that sort of path, that's the path that we should take to actually resolve our immigration problem. I don't think that trying to shut down the border is going to make it any better. We might see a small, short little blip, but then I think we're going to see a huge surge in the black market, a huge surge in people coming into our country illegally. Whereas we could have a clear path to immigration that's legal, that checks criminal backgrounds, that helps with health screening, people taking an English test, making sure that they don't go on public services while paying taxes. I think if we do that, I think it doesn't solve just an immigration issue. I think it solves an economic issue as well, where people are working and not paying taxes. Now, we could go down the conversation of talking about income tax and how I feel about that. There's no time for that. I've done this on other shows. But I truly think that if we were to look at this, the only way to solve the immigration issue is to reduce the size of the black market. And the only way to reduce the size of the black market is make it so that people can take a clean, legal path that's simple and help pay into the system instead of taking away from the system. Guys, I'm just about at the end of the show here. Gonna be wrapping up. Please definitely reach out to me if you have comments, questions. Maybe you have an idea on how to make this policy better. But let's talk about this. Let's talk about approaching immigration from a standpoint of not creating a larger black market for immigration, not creating a larger market that's lucrative for sex trafficking minors. Let's approach immigration from minimizing the black market. It'll be better for us. It'll be better for people who want to come here legally. Thank you so much for joining me here on Radio Free New York, guys. I will see you next time, 1 p.m.